The American West. 2 million square miles of natural wonder. Before airports and interstates and railroads, men and women dreamed of going west, and industry and technology paved the way. From the dreams and the drawing boards came the railroads, traversing the plains, climbing the Rockies, and beyond, across the Grand Canyon lands and into the great American desert basin. These trains tamed the West and closed the 1,000-mile gap between the Mississippi and the Sierra Madres. Brave men and women built this magnificent engineering achievement, and with it, the great cities of the American West. Once, there were thousands of trains crisscrossing America. Today, a few hundred remain. And we can relive the experience, remember how we got here and why we came. Now, climb aboard and ride the rails that conquered this wilderness. See life in shades of steel and smoke, cinder and ash, oil and iron, when you ride along on Trains of the American West. For over 100 years, these iron horses have handled the heavy work, and dedicated hostlers, boilermakers, and machinists have worked hard to keep them running. Every day, in the early morning hours at the world-renowned steam shop of the Grand Canyon Railway, work continues much as it has for over a century.
Okay. Let me go ahead and turn that turret on. Turret on. We've got our water down to what we want it, so we're ready to fire it up. We'll throw that in there, shut the door, turn on his fuel and atomizer. We'll bring this fire up slowly. Don't want to build pressure too fast. My name's Marcus Petropoulos. Well, I'm a hostler and a boilermaker, welder. I started as a welder here and working on the boilers back in 1989. And I started boilermaking in '74. But anyway, I seen there was a good job here working for a steam line. I didn't know anything about locomotives or cars or anything, to tell you the truth. I just knew about boilers. A boiler is a vessel. You know, you got water inside, you're heating it, you're boiling the water, you're capturing the steam, and you're going to use that steam to move something. In this case, it moves this locomotive, which pulls the train, which takes the people back and forth to the canyon.
To a boilermaker, that's how they see it. Then they're proud of their boiler, and they keep that boiler steady. And it's a lot harder to keep. I'll tell you, kudos to our boilermakers here. They do a really good job. It's really hard to keep a boiler that's on a rigid frame and that's constantly stretching and contracting with the heat and keep it from leaking, keep the pipes from breaking, and it's a constant challenge.
I'm listening to different sounds here. When you're around a steam engine, you should listen to everything.
I would describe a steam locomotive almost like a person. They're kind of alive. They're kind of like waking up a beast in the morning. When you fire them up, they start creaking and stretching, and as you turn on the different apparatuses on a steam engine, they get louder and noisier and bigger, and then by the time you're ready to pull the throttle and put her under steam, steam engine is its own beast.
When you have a steam engine that is dead, it's no pressure in it, it's dead. And when you start it cold, like we do here all the time, and all of a sudden you start heating the water, building pressure, it comes alive. When it comes alive, you have to start paying attention to it.
And it's a kind of a seat of your pants feel that you get, and it's nothing that you can teach. Some people can do it and some people can't. Without roller bearings, no sealed roller bearings, the steam engine is mostly all friction, and it's amazing to watch those operate, and all those friction parts slide and hammer and pound and move together in harmony and make it go down the track.
Down and clear back 20. This engine here is kind of a lightweight to me. If I remember, it's 160 tons. This operating pressure, 200 pounds of pressure on the boiler per square inch. And if we're pulling up grade, 3% grade, it can get up to 675 degrees. You think about it, a long time ago, they had all these steam engines running around the country, and they had all these roundhouses and what have you. They had to keep them going. So there was all this, you had to make boilers, in other words.
There's some of the old technology that we just can't duplicate today. They employed thousands and thousands of people across the country. You know, the whole country worked for the railroad at one time, and you just can't duplicate some of those artisans' work that they did in the old days.
It's part of history, like whatever you do to this engine, you're just adding to it, adding to its life. And if you do bad work, you know, it'll be the end of the steam engine. There'll be no more. Run it good, work it good, take care of it, and it'll last a long time.
This is my first time to the Grand Canyon.
We've traveled about 2,000 miles in the car, and to have somebody else do the driving for us for a couple of days is an excellent way to travel.
We have 650 souls on board today, and I trust probably 649 of them are having the time of their life.
I actually teach back at home. I teach about the development of the American West. You know, I've been teaching about pioneers coming across to the West and just not appreciated the distances that these people were travelling. And I've found that the 2,000 miles that we've travelled really quite difficult. But to do it in a covered wagon, they were brave people.
There's the old stagecoach road right down there. So 8 hours on the stagecoach versus 3 hours by Santa Fe Railway. The railway won.
In the West, we had the train robberies.
Oh, train robberies.
What in the world is it?
Look, it's them mail order women from Sears and Roebuck.
It made riding the train an adventure. Who knows, you could be the one getting held up today.
4 months a year, the railway does run steam engines. We do that in June, July, August, and September. Now, it costs the railway about $750,000 more every year to run the steam power those 4 months. But the people really seem to enjoy it.
The Grand Canyon, to me, is still the raw West. There's places you can go out there that's so quiet and beautiful, and you have elk, mountain lions, bears. There's everything there. It's an awesome sight to behold. I love the West.
It's unbelievable in every way. Every time I looked, I felt like, I can't believe it.
This untamed frontier was a new world to the brave souls who headed west. Early American railways dominated trade and transportation east of the Mississippi. It was in 1869 that the country was tied together with a ribbon of steel when the Union Pacific and the Central Pacific Railroads joined up at Promontory Summit.
I'm Engineer Rick, and I'm the engineer at Jupiter here at the Golden Spike National Historic Site at Promontory Summit, Utah. And I'm one of two engineers that have a full-time employment taking care of the two most beautiful locomotives in the world, the 119 and, of course, the Jupiter back there behind me. Typically, the engineer was assigned a locomotive. He took special interest in that locomotive, and he took special interest to make sure that his firemen maintained the engine in a clean and sparkling condition. The railroads themselves took particular pride. This was their billboard, if you will, advertising the opulence of their railroad, and it could be seen for miles, shining in the sun, the bright brass and the gold leaf of the engines.
Today I'm one of a group of volunteers that are doing the reenactment of the driving of the Golden Spike.
As well as you spectators gathered here await as the drama of men's on this 10th day of May, 1869. The last fight.
Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray!
Last hammer blow on the spike was signaled across the country on Western Union telegraphs.
Final bulletin. Promontory Summit, Utah, May 10th, 1869. Mr. President, the last rail has been laid, the last spike has been driven, the Pacific Railroad.
This was it. This was the biggest construction project that the country had ever seen. A lot of people don't get it. They come out here and they say, it's Disneyland, you know, entertain me, you know. It's not Disneyland. It's not a somber site, it's not like a battlefield, but no less significant as Gettysburg or any place else. This is where history was made. It's a place where things haven't changed in 130 years. I often sit on the back in the gangway and look out across the mountains, and I'm there. It doesn't take much. You feel it, and you can imagine what an excitement was here in building this railroad.
The completion of the Transcontinental Railroad was a grand technological achievement, the space shuttle of the 1800s, and it changed America and changed Americans forever.
Before the Transcontinental Railroad, everybody that went west in a covered wagon took their lives in their hands. 1 out of 10 never made it across the country in a wagon train. It were the middle class and the wealthy that went across the country. It cost, believe it or not, at that time, $2,000. Poor people didn't go.
The railroad provided a safer, smoother trip across the continent deep into the heart of the Rocky Mountains. The Durango-Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad, one of the greatest mountain railroads, steams through the San Juan Wilderness.
There's the whiff of coal smoke in the air of engine oil and everything getting ready. You can hear the bell ringing on the train as it moves through the yard in the background, and it's very exciting to me to come down every morning because there's always something a little different. Everybody is coming with great expectation of the ride that they're going to take. So it makes it kind of nice. The romance of the coal-fired locomotive. Everybody loves to see the smoke coming out of the stack and hear the chugging of the engine, and so they get a chance to do that in the yard before they get on the train to actually take the ride up to Silverton.
It's great because people from around the world come to ride this train.
Wir kommen aus Deutschland, in der Nähe von Köln, und wir sind mit A&R Organization und wir freuen uns, weil das Wetter ist very good.
So as soon as we're done with this, we'll pull the blue flag off the locomotive and we're clear to go.
Well, the Durango and Silverton Railroad is definitely a major railroad. We have schedules to meet. We have a dispatcher up in the dispatch tower. We have 3 or 4 trains. Next year they'll probably run 5. It goes from here, of course, to Silverton.
Pretty morning, isn't it? We're riding on locomotive number 473. One of our American locomotives built in 1923. Today we're pulling this train from Durango all the way to Silverton.
Once they get out of town, and once they get away from the condominiums and the development along the river, they get into the wild country. They're completely away from civilization. The only contact they have with civilization are those 2 thin ribbons of iron. And, you know, and that's what makes it kind of neat. They go over old bridges that were built in the 80s and over trestles across the raging rivers. What we call the High Line, where people look down at that 350 feet below at the wild raging waters of the Animas River and want to kind of move over to the other side of the car. It's, you know, it's a real great experience.
I just like to try to imagine what those guys 100 years ago were feeling and seeing. They were doing exactly the same job, and they were looking at basically the same scenery. I just like to think about them from a humanistic point. Were they thinking about going downtown, chasing the girls, having a few, or were they worried about the wagon wheel that was broken, things like that? They were doing the same thing.
I think people love to live in the past a little bit. I know I do.
To imagine that this is what it would have been like 100 years ago, very slow, very rickety. Rocking back and forth, I think to maintain a train like this is a way of connecting the past with the future. Quite often as you're looking out, you can feel cinders and water from the steam getting on your face and clothes and everything else.
Having the smoke in your face is part of the whole experience.
You can't come in your best coat and tie here. You've got to be willing to get off the train, and at the end of the day, you're ready to get into the shower and get the experience off of you.
You're traveling back in time. This is exactly what it was like in 1882 when this railroad was first operating. The same locomotive, the same form of power, coal-fired engines. You're getting a little bit of soot, just like they did back there, and you get the clickety-clack of the wheels and the squeal of going around the curves, and the speed is about the same, and the scenery hasn't changed at all. Thank God.
The type of ride that this offers is unique. I went on Amtrak one time in New York, but you didn't have the feel. You couldn't stick your head out, you couldn't feel the weather, you couldn't feel what the train was doing.
It was a little bit cold when we started, and we, for once in our lives, prepared adequately, bought warm coats, but we didn't anticipate there was going to be a slight sleet snowstorm.
It's cold. Yeah.
We're out in the beauty of Colorado. It's just a different kind of pretty.
I just wonder how many people that ride the train really are rail fans, or whether they're scenery fans, or whether they're history fans. You know, it's a real great experience. And of course they can look up if they want and see the San Juans, the mountains that have been there forever, and the snow and the wild country and the waterfalls. It's a never-ending vista, and it changes with every 100 feet that the railroad travels. I'm a rail fan from way back, and good, bad, or indifferent, I'll live and die a rail fan.
Running right alongside the steam engines of the D and S and G are the galloping geese of the old Rio Grande Southern.
They are kind of homemade.
It is a thrill that they're still here.
Possibly because it's cobbled together out of junk.
They were junkyard queens.
It's a little bumpy in places.
The sign of the ultimate rail fan.
It's weird because you're in a car body, but you're going down the tracks. It just puts a smile on their face. They see that thing and they're like, you know, that is a weird looking unit, but it's cool, and it is.
People that have not seen it do not believe anything like this exists, and yet it does, and it's real.
In Durango, there were two railroad companies that operated out of this town, and the Rio Grande Southern came into existence in 1893. That's when the line was opened between Durango and Ridgeway. The geese were indigenous to just the Rio Grande Southern. They are really a one-of-a-kind motorized rail car. The geese were built in the 1930s. The Rio Grande Southern was in bankruptcy, and in order to keep the baggage and mail and some passenger service open on the line, they built those geese.
There were no drawings of these things. The guys that built them originally, it was chalk on the floor. You use whatever parts you can get out of the junkyard. This one was Buick, and the next one was Buick, but they added a whole bunch more parts. And then they started using Pierce Arrows. Then they used Pierce Arrows that had Ford engines in them. They did things that no one had done before. That the pundits would say, you can't do that. That won't work. And they just went and did it.
And there were a lot of wrecks on the Rio Grande Southern. And that was why the geese were so successful. Even though the track was rough, Mother Nature dealing them blows, these geese were able to get through that stuff a lot easier than a whole train would be able to. Riding on a goose, they were easier to operate. They didn't require a big crew. It was just one man running the thing. He was the brakeman, the engineer, and the conductor all in one person. And that's why that was such a successful machine.
I rode the Galloping Goose today from Silverton down to Elk Park, and I wasn't quite prepared for the smooth ride because it used to toss you from pillar to post and up and down. Here it's riding over a beautifully maintained railroad right-of-way, smooth, can get out and move, and I don't know, we just missed the bounce and jar and jerk and the motorman dozing off.
And those flags waving are just beautiful. I don't see how you could say the little engine in this little engine that could is machismo at all. It's more like we're amazed that it makes it. There's definitely a subculture of people who seem to appreciate the goose more, or all of the geese, more than any of the other narrow gauge equipment. And I found out riding the Eureka last year that there's the other subset that doesn't quite understand that, doesn't understand the fascination, and would much rather be on one of the wood or coal burning locomotives.
My toy isn't as big as everybody else's, but I'm having more fun.
Trains have personalities. They're as different as the folks who run them and ride them. Some are a little goofy, and some are truly grand. The American Orient Express is a luxurious way to relax, unwind, and explore the natural wonders of North America.
In our culture, travel is not important anymore. Destination is important. And we go as fast as we can from place to place. This here, the journey is the experience. The American West is fascinating. If trains have a spirit or a personality, this one is carefully crafted to have one. The personality of that is of old world charm, old-fashioned elegance and service.
This is the American Orient Express. This is the most glamorous train in America.
Which is why we're on it.
Which is why we're here.
They called us and said, would you please come on the trip? And we said, well,
we need you.
So they paid us a lot of money, and here we are. Geez, with the sun shining on it. It's gorgeous.
Look, there's a little street there.
My favorite part of the train is right here, just watching the scenery go by.
What's kind of great is that when you look at these windows, you realize that this is what it must have looked like, roughly 100 years ago. So the cars are old, the scenery's been here forever, so the only thing that's new is you.
I chose to come on this trip because it was our 25th wedding anniversary, and we thought the train would be something really romantic and fun and elegant and kind of travel like people did in the 20s and 30s.
Everything has to be just right. There are no exceptions to that.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you folks. I'll give you a few minutes to look over your menu, and I shall return momentarily.
I'm Daniela Cole, and I'm the executive chef on the American Orient Express. We do a 5-course menu at night.
Our entrees that we're having on the Orient Express tonight is the New York steak, crab stuffed salmon, and we also have the Chilean sea bass with the pineapple salsa.
A lot of the challenges that we face that aren't faced in a hotel. We lose power occasionally. A lot of times we'll run out of water. That's a real special problem. Whew. Well, I'll tell you this, you cannot make a creme brulee when the train is moving. I learned that the hard way.
You're experiencing the challenges of train life right now. Just
when you're trying to prepare meals and cook them, serve them at the train's moving can be a real challenge.
The presentation is just beautiful. It looks like a work of art.
You're made to feel pampered in every way, and it's just blissful.
We are kind of a luxury liner on one way and an upscale safari on the other.
It's nice to be reminded of how you're supposed to be treated.
And it makes you feel good, you know, and it makes you love the people. It makes you love everyone. It's wonderful.
So we're full of love on the train.
It's the love train.
Well, it's going back to the old era. It's a place where you want to leave your laptops at home, your cell phones, your beepers, and just kind of enjoy yourself and enjoy your trip and get regenerated.
One of the most popular ways to enjoy the unspoiled wide open spaces of America is by touring the national parks of the West on board the American Orient Express.
People in the West may take this as being interesting, but this is as exotic to us as the plains of Africa.
I think America's romance with the West is because of the great expanses and the beautiful mountains and just the feeling of freedom. This is going to be preserved, and generations from now, people will be able to stand right here and look at the same mountains and feel the same awe.
It's coming to a place that is brand new, something that you have never seen before, and just going out and exploring that area and learning about it for yourself. I think trains made this area and made the West much more accessible than they were in the past. Trains are what connected the East and the West.
Trains get in your blood and run in your family. Such is the case with the Royal Gorge Route Scenic Railroad that rumbles through Royal Gorge out of Canyon City, Colorado.
Every kid plays with trains when they're growing up, and then you grow up and you get to play with a big train like this, and while you're doing it, you kind of sit back and think, man, I can't believe I'm actually doing this around here. Me and my dad worked together here for about 2.5 years. It's really good to see your dad doing what he does best, and trains is definitely what he does best.
We go through probably the most picturesque canyon in southern Colorado and probably in the world. After you enter this rock, you're in the gateway of the Rockies. You're out of the flat country. You're in the mountains of Colorado, Utah. We call this the Gate of the Gorge. have 27 years experience. This is the only job where I really, truly feel like a railroader. We're getting into the high gorge now. This is the part of the gorge where it's really going to get steep, close to the water, close to the rocks. The curves are tight, so the train has to work a little harder getting up. It's a little harder coming down too. When it's snaking through that gorge, and you're wondering how could that thing follow that engine through there with all that precise movement. What I call my girls, they're the diamonds in the rough. I mean, when they come through that gorge, they're glistening. It almost looks like they're dancing down that rail. That's the Royal Gorge. That's the highest suspension bridge in the world.
The depth of that gorge is unbelievable. When you look up at that bridge and those people are sitting up there on top of that bridge, and you just know that that's ridiculously high.
I wish I had a camera on top of the open cart, so every day I could take a picture of the crowd with their mouth open or pointing and even waving up to the people at the bridge.
Yeah, I suppose if you looked up there long enough, you'd probably get a crook in your neck.
We're very proud of our railroad. Every employee here, they act like they have their own little piece of this thing.
There's more people that like trains around here than NFL football teams. About the biggest question I get asked is, how do you get paid for this job around here?
Well, I retired out of another industry after 38 years. I'd always been interested in railroading and got tired of running my railroad around the Christmas tree, so I decided to do it for real. And this has become a part of my life. You know, I live for this. I've been up here close to 1,000 times and I never get tired of it.
The last time this passenger train come through this gorge, my great-grandfather was a conductor on the train. So it's kind of a sentimental coming through the same rocks that my great-grandfather did years ago.
Brad's taken a genuine interest in it. I think he's proud of what he does. I think he's proud of what he sees. And I think he's real proud when people come up to him and tell him what we have here. It makes us all kind of just cherish it a little bit more.
Dedication and perseverance have preserved the last remaining tourist trains in America. Those that survive are the lucky few, like the ghost train of Ely on the Nevada Northern Railway.
Early on in American history, we had 20,000 different locomotives, all operating very much like the ones that operate here in eastern Nevada operate. It's a coal-fired steam train. Coal is the fire. You add water to that, you create steam, and then the steam becomes what allows the power to move forward. The significance of those trains are that most of those trains are gone today. Probably less than 200 of those still exist in the country. I'd give you an indication, the closest large city to Ely is Salt Lake City. It's 240 miles away. If you were trying to bring something here by wagon, that took you 12 days. You could bring it here by train in about 12 hours. The Nevada Northern Railroad originally started in 1906. It was started because we wanted to haul copper from eastern Nevada out to the rest of the world because of Alexander Graham Bell's invention of the telephone and Thomas Edison's invention of the light bulb. Early on, in the early part of this century, Ely, Nevada provided about 40% of copper in the United States. Now you can use gold for wire. Gold makes a great wire. You simply can't afford it. But copper makes an equally great wire, and copper is relatively abundant. At least it's abundant in eastern Nevada.
This complex is the best preserved short line in North America, and we're located in East Ely, Nevada, probably the most remote community of its size in the 48 continental U.S. In the 70s, when Kennecott Copper Corporation found it profitable at that time not to dig any more ore. They shut down the operations, and most of the workers thought that it was a temporary situation. They laid down their tools, walked away, and as a result, everything here is frozen in time.
We have a great collection of cars here on the Nevada Northern Railroad. The train that operates a tourist ride today is locomotive number 40. It's a 96-ton locomotive.
She has hauled more than 6 million passengers. You will pass through one of the few curved railroad tunnels in the world. Most of them are straight.
The name of the Ghost Train goes back to legend, and we had a gentleman here on the Nevada Northern Railroad who loved steam equipment. He was the master mechanic. He kept those pieces of equipment operating. And there was an order that came down from the main office that said, there's so much metal in any one of these, we want to scrap that out. Well, the gentleman looked at that order and looked at locomotive number 40 and said, I love that locomotive. I don't want that locomotive to go away. And so very carefully and very lovingly, he hid that locomotive.
They would take the engine and cover it with scrap metal or run it up a spur into the canyon when the bean counters came by.
And periodically, a 96-ton locomotive would be hidden, and he was able to do that for about 20 years.
Hence the Ghost Train of Old Ely.
Okay, this is a what's called a 10-wheeler, a 460 Baldwin, made in 1910. I'm going to wait till we get through this tunnel before I add coal in order not to make smoke in the tunnel for the people on the train.
I live in a household of train buffs. To me, in just such a short time that we've traveled, that's been fascinating to see that there's this many places in this short of space that people worked and struggled and died for to be able to get this mining industry to what it is today.
The Liberty Pit, the largest hole in that area, measured about 1.5 miles long by nearly 3/4 of a mile wide and about 1,000 feet deep. There was 14 miles of railroad track inside that one hole. Without the train, we still would have the richest copper mine in eastern Nevada. Nobody would know it, nobody would mine it, because you couldn't get the copper out. But with a train, you could do that.
Every so often I need to add coal. He's using steam, I need to keep replenishing it. I look at the stack to tell me how the fire's burning. When I put in coal, it burns black smoke for a while. And when it clears up, it's ready to take more coal.
If we could stay on a train forever, I'd be the best mom in the world.
I like the history, the uniqueness of all the equipment we've been able to save here at Nevada Northern.
It's a capsule in time. It is central to the economy and the culture and the livelihood, not only of eastern Nevada, but the entire West.
The builders of the Western railroads faced adversity at the bend of every river, at the rim of every canyon, over every forest ridge and every mountain pass. Just west of Denver, an engineering marvel known as the Georgetown Loop Railroad winds through the canyons from Georgetown to Silver Plume and back 6 times a day.
Tourist railroads are important because the younger generations don't know what a steam engine is. They look at these things and say, what is that? I had one running through my backyard when I was a kid. I knew what it was, but there is no such thing.
It's just steam, you know, it's something that's different. It's unique. It was a way of life. It no longer is. When the love of it gets in your blood, it's in your blood. You can't get it out. We like to try to keep it alive and going so everybody else can enjoy it.
It's insulary. They're here, and you got to come and see them. They don't come to you.
We operate approximately 3.5 miles of track running between Georgetown and Silver Plume. The two towns sit only 2 air miles apart, but they differ in elevation by over 600 feet.
The Georgetown Loop is a narrow gauge railroad, which means the rails are 3 feet between the insides of the rails.
It's a lot easier to build a grade that will handle a narrow gauge track than a standard gauge track. The narrow gauge actually dictates the use of smaller equipment. The smaller equipment is able to take the tighter curves. And we have curves on here that a mainline railroad would choke if they even saw them, you know. You can almost reach out and touch the train going around the other side of the curve. It's that sharp a curve. That's one of the factors that makes this different than flatland railroading. The other is simply the grades. They had the grade come out of Georgetown, up the valley, turn, go back towards Georgetown, turn again, cross over the other track, and then come on up towards Silver Plume. So the whole thing became an engineering marvel.
Engine number 12 weighs about 60 tons and a top speed of a rip-roaring 15 miles an hour.
All of the locomotives here at the Loop are oil-burning engines. Oil burners were really preferred in the West for logging industry because they didn't throw cinders out. After all, when you're going through a forest and the forest is the product you're going to sell, you don't want to burn it down.
And what we're utilizing here are Shay engines.
Shays are very unconventional. Instead of a cylinder on each side, they have 3 small cylinders. They're located only on the right-hand side of the locomotive. If you want to go over 15 miles an hour with them, I tell people you have to push them off a cliff because they just can't make that machinery fly around any faster than that.
I work as a shop foreman. I do machining on obsolete parts that don't exist anymore. You need to be creative because there's no blueprints, and you got to see if you can find the part that got lost and make another one like it.
These machines were built to last forever.
You got to keep an eye on them, or they go goofy. I mean, you got to keep watching them, and you got to anticipate things going wrong. It's nuts and bolts and oil and grease, and check them over every day.
As long as you maintain them, they'll keep running. Because people of my age grew up with railroads running by steam-powered trains, there's a huge amount of nostalgia now associated with them. When you hear the steam whistle on the engine blow, it just really does something to you.
It tugs at everybody's heartstrings because they know it's a lost thing. It's something to behold before it goes away.
Like the Loop, many other short lines cut across the West, carving their niche out of the rugged western wilderness. Diesel or steam, fast or slow, it's all the same when you step off the platform onto the train and back in time. The Heber Creeper rolls out of Heber City, Utah, and is one of the slowest rides in the West.
We're in Heber City, Utah, about 45 miles southeast of Salt Lake City. We're up in the mountains in a little valley about 5,500 feet. The train began in 1899 as the Denver Rio Grande, later became the Denver Rio Grande Western. It was primarily a freight hauling railroad. It was so slow, it got the name the Heber Creeper. One story has it that a newlywed couple boarded in Provo and had their first child when the train pulled into the Heber station.
Right now we're in the Provo Canyon. It's a beautiful canyon. We have the Provo River right here to the one side of us, and we're just taking it nice and easy today.
We leave Heber City And we travel across the farmlands of the Heber Valley. And then our train follows the lake shore of Deer Creek. And then we descend into a glacier-carved canyon called the Provo Canyon, and we follow the icy waters of the Provo River down to Vivian Park.
You can reach out and touch the trees if you want to. Get really close to the river and watch everybody fishing. And when you're on the road, you can't see that.
Actually going over the Provo River here, you can look down. It's really nice. Sometimes you can see some fish lollygagging around here in the side of the river. It's the part I look forward to more than anything else right now. I go down to the bridge, take my clothes off, I jump in the river to cool off. Every Sunday, my Sunday baptism. I come down here and just take a break from it all and let the engineer know that Mike the conductor is going to take a dip in the river.
We're traversing the line down in Provo Canyon, and all of a sudden the fireman just got white as a ghost and started going, oh, and he kept looking, and I says, Mike, what's the matter? And he just kept pointing and pointing.
So I slammed the train into emergency, and we slid to a stop, and he said, you're not going to believe what you just hit. And some fella had just bought his brand new boat and was taking it up to Deer Creek to try it out.
He was hauling it up Provo Canyon behind his car on his trailer, and the trailer came unhooked. The boat banged on the trailer to the edge of the highway, flew off the trailer, went down the hillside, landed on the tracks, and we came around a corner and cut it in half.
I'm the only engineer on this railroad that's ever hit a boat. The trainmen used to sit up in the cupola and watch for smoke coming off the wheels.
Kids just like it. It's just like a tree house. It's kind of a little hut.
We have to put a time limit in the cupola because the kids stay up there forever, and not just the kids, but adults.
In the old days, it wasn't a train until the caboose was hooked on.
Cabooses have always had a charm.
It was the home away from home for the crew. They had their stove, they had their bunks. Conductor had his desk that he did all his paperwork on. There are lots of names that were given the caboose: the shack, the crummy. They called it a cabin car. The caboose came in, and really nobody really knows where that name originated.
When I grew up, cabooses were as common as a locomotive, and now they are a very rare thing.
The caboose was something that was really nostalgic. It was really romantic. Everybody loved the little red caboose behind the train.
The excitement of getting on that train and wondering what's going to happen at the other end, that's the romance.
You know, there used to be a saying at Golden Spike. They'd come up and they'd look up the engine and they'd say, "Boy, how do I get your job?" And I'd say, "Kill me." I can't tell you exactly why we do it. Maybe it smells good. I'm getting coal smoke and dust and pollution in my face and on my clothes. I love it. I'm a rail fan from way back, and good, bad, or indifferent, I'll live and die a rail fan. We always used to say that Bob Doty, when he dies, is going to get cremated and his ashes are going to get thrown in the firebox of the 119.